So this is a new release for Prism, and right away I wanted to show some of the new visual updates. There is now a skybox, and you can see it is transitioning between day and night, which is kind of cool. This uses a clock that is can be scaled down to anything. So I think this is set to be 30 seconds, but you can set it to be 30 minutes or whatever you want. And you can assign textures to be rendered at certain times within this sort of virtual day. So right now I think I have a time for 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. and it will automatically convert to real time, which will be some amount of seconds, and update that transition. So another update is lighting is now working. I already covered lighting in a previous video, but since this is an actual release, I thought I would show it again. So point lighting is working. There's attenuation, and the lights are now manually set up in the shader. Before, lighting was sort of handled in the code, and that wasn't very performance. Just produced, I don't know, it ran through all the objects for each light. So I have 3 lights, well, plus the sort of global light. So 4 lights, 4 times all the objects here. Yeah, not very performant. So right now it's just going to render the lights once for each object, but up to a maximum right now of 4 lights, and that's just what I hard-coded in the shader. So you have to do that manually for now and just decide which lights to show at any given point. So I'm going to hop over to the code and just show a little bit. And where are we at? Oh, here we go. So this is the code, and I actually moved this outside of Prism. I didn't want to keep bloating the repository for Prism, so I moved this into its own repository. And this is really just a scratch pad. I'm going through a bunch of YouTube tutorials, and the tutorials are for building a game engine in Java. So I'm translating this to Crystal and then further trying to develop a good game API so that this thing can be used for more than just, well, me. So for the skybox, I just wanted to show how easy that was. This is all I have. So there's this new global clock that you can access, and this is the virtual clock of the world. So by default, this is just going to use the standard clock time span, which is just 24 hours. Now here I set it to be 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds is going to go through a quote-unquote 24-hour cycle within the game. And then any clock values I have, like here, are automatically scaled down to fit within that time frame. So here I'm actually setting the time to noon. It's going to start during the day. And then I'm adding a couple different periods of the sky that will be rendered once at 5 a.m. and then this is 5 p.m. for the night. And then I load those into the skybox. And here I am adding the input subscriber because I can't show it to you right now because I'm in the game code and not Prism. But the skybox actually requires the input. So we add the input subscriber to the entity, which the entity will then delegate that input to the skybox. So I just give the skybox the periods, and this will automatically take in these textures and display it at the proper times. So that is how we get these fun day-night transitions. And furthermore, let's see if there's anything else interesting in here. You know, there's not much more to show as far as the actual tutorial code goes. The rest of the code changes, I guess, are mostly internal. Let's see. There are these lights, and I covered these in a previous tutorial, so I'm not really going to cover it. But lights were largely refactored. I did have support for a lot of different lights, but like I mentioned earlier, it was not very performant. Every light that you added just looped through all of the objects all over again, and that was, well, dumb. So now it's manually set in the shader. So I guess that's really all I wanted to show. I'm pretty happy with the code right now, and I fixed a ton of bugs that have been in the back of my mind lingering, and now I think I'm ready to continue on my tutorial series that I've been watching. And I think the next thing in line is was it texture mapping? We'll see.